And welcome to another edition of Josh Talk Sports here on a Tuesday night, man, a little bit later in the evening, around 9:30 Eastern Time, 8:30 or 8:40 actually, Central Time, wherever you may be. Appreciate you for joining me on tonight, and definitely glad to be here, man. Once again, right here on Tom Beck Live Network. Of course, I'm your host, Josh Midget, here in the building, and glad to talk with y'all today. Got some stuff going on that kind of broke this evening, and shout out to y'all coming in. I see Greg, Leon, Kelly coming in, some more folks coming in. Y'all that coming in, be sure to hit that like button, share the video as well, and we'll greatly appreciate it. So I'm not going to be too long tonight, but there were some things I would be remiss to not talk about on the show today. Feel free to leave your comments. Again, I'm going to put them on the screen as they come in. Also, you can call in as we get the conversation started. 706-250-6252. Once again, 706-250-6252 is the number to call if you want to join the conversation. And man, we got some interesting stuff to talk about. So I'm gonna start it off with what most of y'all probably already know when it comes to the breaking news side of things, but we're going to go ahead and get this kicked off talking about that. So, and it's Memphis Tigers related, ironically, and not football. This is actually basketball. So, what has happened as, let me get this on up here, right next to my face. As reported, you see the report there by Leon Taylor. He said the University of Memphis basketball program will be a different team for coaches and players. Memphis assistants Jermaine Johnson, Faraji Phillips, and Jamie Rosser will no longer be on the staff. It was also reported by Hitman Hoops that there was another, I believe one or two additional other assistants that are not going to be on the staff either coming in the next season. So this all comes out tonight. A lot of people are wondering, okay, these are some pretty big changes. Some guys that just started on the staff last season and they're already gone. And it's got a lot of people wondering, okay, what is the reason? What are the reasons that these major moves are being made this close to the season coming back around? They're in the middle of their off-season program. They're practicing. They're doing all this. And to get rid of 4 or 5 assistants this close to the season coming around and your preparation for the season is interesting. At least it's surprising to me. Now, my man Leon Mapstone says it's not surprising. Tell me why you think it's not surprising. And if you think it is surprising, tell me why you think it is surprising. I got my man Kelly. He says shocker. So yeah, again, who knows what's going on behind the scenes? I've heard different things. Some think it could be in relation to the academic stuff that was reported last season. I think that involved Malcolm Dandridge, or what may or may not have been happening when it comes to that. I don't know. It's just me speculating. Some are not surprised. They feel like this was the plan all along, to get rid of these guys and to start anew. I've read some reports that Penny already has the replacements for some of these guys in place. If you haven't heard, I know several days ago, there was, actually several weeks ago, those reports being strongly put out there. I know Leon Taylor was one of the people that was putting it out as well about Nolan Smith, the former Duke assistant and former Louisville assistant coach, coming to Memphis to be an assistant coach. It was not finalized, and it's still not finalized, but it's planned to happen. I've heard that maybe this is because they're trying to bring Nolan Smith in, and they have to free up some money and some space on the coaching staff to do so. Again, I don't know. But one thing I will say, and this does raise the question, until I'm proven wrong, I'm going to put it out there. Is anybody else kind of sick and tired of the constant upheaval and changes and major changes to Penny's basketball program every single year? Now, I know in the state of college sports that we're at right now with the transfer portal, players can go and come and go as they please. They're negotiating with universities how much money they're going to get paid from the sponsors or the boosters of these different organizations and universities when it comes to basketball and football and other sports. But at the same time, every year the whole team changes. Every player, half the team, the whole team, the coaching staff. You bring in one coach, you fire him the next year. You bring in 3 more, you fire 2 of them. You hire one in the middle of the season with Jermaine Johnson, I think he's been back and forth 3 times as an assistant coach. And now he's gone again. And I saw a tweet less than 5 minutes before I went live that Jermaine Johnson is going to be on ESPN radio in Memphis explaining what happened and why he's no longer on the coaching staff. I don't know what that means. Usually when something like that happens, it's negative, but again, that's me speculating. But it is true that Jermaine Johnson says he's going to be on the radio in Memphis to talk about the report that he's no longer on the staff at Memphis. Maybe he's going to provide a little insight. I don't know. But honestly, I'm a little tired of the upheaval. Now, again, what Penny usually does he usually gets other guys to come and replace them, and they're usually pretty good names. You know, like even I think it was last year, the year before, Faraji Phillips was a known basketball coach at Whitehaven that was added to the staff. Jermaine Johnson's very well known in Memphis, I believe Melrose, and then different universities he's worked with, given a lot of credit for when he joined the staff several years ago for helping institute the way the defense played, if I'm not mistaken. But he's been back and forth with the program. Now he's going again. You got Jamie Rosser here, no longer with the program, and some other guys. But then they look like they're going to be replaced by potentially Nolan Smith, the former Louisville assistant, a guy that's very well known as a player and a coach. Was assistant under Coach Krzyzewski at Duke. So that's a cool thing. And then there's word that they're going to move one of the coaches, Andre Turner, former Memphis Tiger, who move him from his position to move him up to an actual assistant coach on the staff. There's also some other guys. I think Mike Davis is moving from his position to an actual assistant coach on the staff. These are some known names that have coached and have experience. So I'm not saying when Penny does replace them, he replaces them with some folks that are known and that seem like they can do the job. But every single year, it seems like there's constant upheaval, there's constant movement, there's constant changes. And to me, no matter who you end up replacing these guys with, that's not a sign of stability. That's not a sign of, I'm not going to say knowing what you're doing. I ain't saying Penny is a dummy or anything. But, there shouldn't be this much change. Am I wrong? Y'all give me your thoughts. Am I wrong for thinking that way? Because, man, I'm like, okay, how much change can you do and expect to be successful the next season? Think about first of all these transfers and guys that Penny has coming on this team. You almost got an entirely new team on the floor coming in this coming year. They're trying to get continuity this offseason. They're getting used to the coaches. They're getting used to the environment, getting used to where they're going to play, the city, the school, the program, the style of play. And then, close to the season getting ready to come around, the whole coaching staff is gone. So, I mean, if you're the players, I'm like, good grief, I was just getting used to these guys, and now they're gone. I don't know. Let me know if you think I'm making too much of it. Brodell says, still got Rick Stansberry, yeah. Even though I've heard a lot about Rick Stansberry, and I don't know if you want to say the up and down with reportedly their relationship with him and Penny. Now, this is, I'm not going to say everything that I've heard, but I actually think Rick Stansberry is important to the coaching staff. He's got a lot of experience as a head coach, and he's done a good bit to get some players on the roster. So I don't know, man. Quite a few comments here. Let me read some of these as they come in. Stanley Fenster in the building. He says they Trumpsters. Oh, man. What? Okay, that's a whole nother show when it comes to that. Greg says, good evening, everyone. Good evening, man. He says, very tired of it, bro. He says he's very tired of all the changes. I don't blame you. Leon Mapstone says, tired of it every day. There you go. Vicky in the building. What's good, Vicky? She says, hello. Hey to everybody. How y'all doing? Once again, if you're in the building, go ahead and hit that like button for me like a lot of y'all have done already, and share the video. Much appreciated. Kelly says, well, true, but timing. But something was going on because of all the names like Nolan Smith and Mike Davis. Yeah. I think so too. Again, those are guys that are not going to be coming to Memphis unless they know moves were probably going to be made to clear the way for them. That's why I'm not trying to panic people or anything. And these are some pretty good moves. I think Stanley said a little further down, these are some pretty good moves and some good names to add to the coaching staff. Maybe Penny felt they weren't getting done what needed to get done. And despite how much change has happened already, he needed to make some more change. Who knows? Maybe this is for the better. But I'm just saying, why does it always happen? To me, that's a red flag. When you're constantly changing things every year. Verdell says, good evening to Verdell. Happy belated birthday as well to Verdell. Vicky says, experience matters. That's true. That is true. Stanley Fenster, here's the comment I was referencing, to say it correctly. He said, those are not bad moves. I agree. So let's look at the staff potentially right now, right? Nolan Smith, Mike Davis, Andre Turner, Rick Stansberry. That's not bad. Not bad at all. And maybe some of these other dudes needed to go. I don't know. Vicky says change is necessary. Hey, it probably is. It probably is. And again, you know, if you're the head coach of a program, you got to make those tough decisions. I understand that. I understand. I know this probably wasn't easy. And who knows what the reasons are, but it does have Tiger Nation in a tizzy a little bit. And say, okay. And I'm seeing a lot of this as I go through the different pages with Tigers fans, Memphis Tigers fans. They're like, hey, man, we're sick of all these changes. We can't keep nobody, players or coaches. We just always got to uproot everything and flip it. I don't know. Let's see. Leon Mapstone says, look at his results. In 6 years, 1 second round NCAA tournament. Ooh. Well, hey, I can't deny what you're saying, Leon. He also says his results has been mediocre. Then he finishes up, he says, but I still have faith. Well, you know, I don't deny, I don't knock you for still having faith. And I'm not saying this is a disaster or anything, or Penny should be fired. But these are one of several things that have been red flags to me. And I've heard different things where they say that Penny is tough to convince, or he's not easy to listen to somebody else. He's not easy to listen to other people, to put it mildly. I've heard that since before Penny was the head coach at Memphis, that he's not great at listening to other people's input on things. And if you just look at the different coaches, look, whenever somebody's a new coach, and Penny's not new anymore, but going back to when he started, whenever somebody's a new coach, they say, okay, you need to bring some experience on the staff, some people that have been head coaches before, that can show you the way, they can do this and do that. He's had lots of different people. Of course, we all know Larry Brown that came in. Seemed like it worked well for the time that he was there. All sorts of other people. Now he has Rick Stansberry currently. He had the former NBA head coach. I'm forgetting his name right now, but he's was former NBA coach of the year. Came and was an assistant on Penny's staff, but once again for 1 year and got up out of there. Who knows? But I do know, like I said, you know, Penny's got a reputation for being tough to take advice. But who knows if that was the case here? I mean, look at some of these guys that they got rid of. You're talking about Faraji Phillips, talking about Jermaine Johnson. I mean, Penny has more experience at the college level than a Faraji Phillips, who was coming out of high school. I believe he was an assistant at MTSU before he came to Memphis. And the ironic thing is, Faraji Phillips' son just transferred to Memphis not a few weeks ago. So the timing is crazy that his son gets let go, or that his father gets let go after he was coming to join his father on the Memphis staff. Now, he wasn't going to be a big factor on the team anyway as a player. But still, that's just interesting too. So it makes you wonder if you, and clearly Penny had to be in on bringing in Faraji's son to the program. If you plan on bringing somebody's son in, then you're clearly having the thought process that you're going to keep his father on the staff, I would think. But clearly something has changed over the past few weeks. You know, and do you guys think it's for the better? So this is some major news. I keep seeing things, I'm looking at my phone, I'm hearing things, different rumors and all that about what's really going on here. And I'm gonna definitely keep y'all updated. But again, the major thing to me, one of the major things is Jermaine Johnson says he wants to be in studio on ESPN Radio in Memphis to address today's news. So who knows what that means? Is he going to try to air his grievances? Is he going to try to say that this was unfair? Or is he just going to say support the Tigers and all of that? So who knows? But this has definitely been quite the occurrence tonight. This broke, like I said, around an hour and a half, 2 hours ago. And I definitely want to come in and talk about it. So we're going to see. Y'all continue to leave your thoughts. Again, if you want to call in, you can. 706-250-6252. Once again, 706 is going across the screen there. 706-250-6252. Stanley says the Avengers are coming together. Okay. I mean, I don't know if you call that coaching staff the Avengers, or maybe so. I mean, it's a good staff. You know? But we'll see. We'll see. I'm not knocking the people that's added to the staff or going to be added to the staff. The constant change is a bit weird to me. And I just kind of leave it at that. Y'all still want to comment on it? If anything else breaks, I'm definitely keep y'all updated on the situation. So, on to the next. And the next is football related because, one, we're in the perfect situation now, man. Fall is coming. The temperature is hopefully starting to change a little bit wherever you are. You know what I mean? Football's on the air all weekend. Had college football. It's a great feeling. College game day. It's just an incredible feeling when it comes to football being back. The NFL returns this week. This Thursday night, the NFL returns. And then Friday night, there's a game in Brazil. NFL playing a game in Brazil this Friday. And then, of course, Sunday, the rest of the games in week one of the NFL season. As a Titans fan, I'm very excited. Very under the radar, our team right now. A lot of changes. A lot of people think we're rebuilding. I think we're reloading. And you're going to be surprised. If you haven't been paying attention, the Titans have had one of the most active off seasons in the NFL. But I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But here's what I want to get to. A guy that's near and dear if you support Memphis Tigers or if you're a Florida State fan currently. To a lot of people's hearts, a lot of people in the chat, you know, maybe fans of his or whatever the case may be. Mike Norvell. Now, if y'all have followed us, Talk Back Live, for some years, and a lot of y'all have, we have been pretty critical of Norvell, even despite all the winning that he did at Memphis. And he was the coach of probably the best season in Memphis Tigers football history, which was his final year at Memphis. Let's go back to the SMU Memphis game Saturday night on ESPN, the same day that College Game Day was on Beale Street, thousands of people in the streets. One of the biggest days in Memphis football history, the big win, Antonio Gibson's legendary run down the sideline in a sold-out Liberty Bowl Memorial Stadium. At the time, that was the name of the stadium. At the time, the Liberty Bowl was actually not demolished halfway like it is right now, but that's a whole nother story. And everything seemed to be on the up and up until Norvell says, I need to go get this money from Florida State. And I can't say I blame him. But now, as we said at the time, when you go to Florida State, it's one of the greatest programs in college football. What's going to happen? We've seen this time and time again. What's going to happen when you go there? The expectations are going to be crazy. They're not going to give you a bunch of years like at Memphis where nobody cared. Florida State, they care. So, they're off to an 0-2 start this year. And you're already hearing that the hot seat is getting warmed up. Now you cut the eye on the oven. It's at least at a 3 or 4 right now. You know, he ain't boiling yet. But the seat's getting a little uncomfortable. And some of y'all may say, Josh, that's crazy. Don't you know he went undefeated last year? Don't you know they should have been in the college football playoff? Don't you know that, Josh? I know that. I know they lost a lot of players from last year's team, including Jordan Travis, who's their leader, their quarterback, the anchor of that team, who got hurt last year and really killed their chances of going to a national title. They got destroyed by Georgia. I think it was 63-3 in the bowl game last year, where a lot of people felt like Mike Norvell and the company were so busy complaining to the college football committee that they didn't get put in the playoff instead of preparing his team for the bowl game, and they got spanked. Either that or they didn't care about the bowl game. I think both of those are bad signs. Now, you come into the season, you're ranked number 10 in the country. Made no sense anyway. Made no sense by any metric that they should have been ranked that high, other than they were undefeated last year. Coming to that, you play Georgia Tech in Dublin, Ireland. The look of the Irish was not with them. Georgia Tech went up there and beat Florida State. A lot of people felt like, okay, that can happen to anybody. It's college football. That's true. Come Monday night, I'm sitting there watching the game with Bob, and we up here like, what is going on? They getting spanked by Boston College. When's the last time you even heard of Boston College? Boston cream pie was more popular than Boston College. They used to be a great program, and now they got a new coach, Bill O'Brien. Seems to be trying to turn them around. I'm not knocking them. But you shouldn't get beat like that. They didn't just get beat. They got dominated. And now, the ultimate bit of irony. Who does Florida State play next? They're off next week. They're off this coming weekend. And their next game is against the Memphis Tigers at Florida State in Tallahassee, Florida. The same place where Boston College whooped Florida State. Wouldn't it be ironic if the loss that pushes Mike Norvell out of Florida State is the Memphis Tigers? How crazy would that be, y'all? You leave Memphis for greener pastures. You go there, you start off kind of shaky. You come back, you go on. The last 2 years have been really good. I think they went 23-4, so I can't take that away from them. But then you start off 0-2 again. And then you got the opportunity where a lot of people, even national pundits, are saying that Memphis game is a dangerous game. People are saying Memphis is considered the favorite or one of the favorites to be in the college football playoff from the group of 5 schools. That's a fact. That's what people are expecting outside of Memphis. Because Silverfield has built a very talented team. But how crazy would it be? The game that kicks Mike Norvell out of Florida State, potentially, and I'm jumping the gun here a little bit, potentially would be a loss to Memphis. I mean, you can't make that up. You could not make that up. But I'm going to tell you this. If you don't believe me, that Memphis game just became way more important than it did a few weeks ago. That Memphis game at first was just a novelty. Okay, it's a cute Florida State. Mike Norvell reaching back to his old team, giving him a huge game on a huge platform. Isn't that nice of Coach Norvell to help his boy Silverfield get a big game? Going into this, nobody expected Memphis to actually have a chance. But now, Mike Norvell could be fighting for his life. Figuratively speaking, his coaching life when you play Memphis. And I'm going to tell you this. And Memphis has one more game before they play Florida State. Florida State has a week off. So they have 2 weeks to prepare for Memphis. And you better believe Norvell is going to do all he can to prepare that team, because this is huge for them. It's huge for his standing as a coach and everything else. It's huge for their season. They could collapse if they lose to Memphis. Then you go on the Memphis side of things. Ryan Silverfield. He's kind of in a pocket right now. When I say that, I mean he's in a comfortable spot. But guess what? They have expectations now. You recruit as well as you did. If you're Silverfield and his staff, you recruit as well as they did. You got expectations now. You got people around the country. You got Nick Saban saying that Memphis State team is nice. He thinks we're still called Memphis State, but all that aside, he thinks the Memphis team is pretty good. That means you got pressure. At first, that Florida State game, you ain't got nothing to lose. Now you kind of do. Because if Florida State, and some of y'all saw I posted this the other day, some people say, okay, this takes pressure away from Memphis now because Florida State's so bad. No, it doesn't. This adds pressure because that's a bad loss. If you lose to Florida State now, as bad as they look, now you can't afford to lose that game because it could hurt you in the playoff standings down the line. Losing to a bad Florida State team. So really, there's pressure on both sides here. Mike Norvell going up against his former assistant, Ryan Silverfield. You can't make this stuff up, man. This was first just a novelty game that's cool. If you're a Tigers fan, you get to play the big, bad Florida State in their stadium. Now, this game means a lot to both teams. And let me show y'all something else. Let me tell y'all something else. What is Florida State's weakness? Let's say me and Bob were watching the game, and Georgia Tech stuffed them right down the middle as far as running the ball. Over 190 yards rushing for Georgia Tech in the first game. Game 2, Boston College ran for over 190 yards against Florida State. So it looks like that's a weakness. But guess what? Memphis is one of the worst running teams in the nation after one game. It's one game, but you played North Alabama and you ran for just over 50 yards on 24 carries. It's not good. Memphis won 40-0, but you only had 50 yards rushing if you're Memphis. Hopefully they can fix that going into the next game. But that's a little bit worrisome to me. It really is. The weakness that is glaring for Florida State, other than their quarterback, who's not nearly as good as people thought he was, is their defense, their rush defense. If you can't run the ball, that's going to put a lot of pressure on Seth Hennigan, who's a great quarterback for Memphis. That's going to put a lot of pressure on him because Florida State's going to know you're going to throw the ball most of the time. So let's see what happens, man. This is just, I love this in sports, though. I really do. When the storylines come together so perfectly in a first-time situation here. Not only, again, Memphis playing Florida State. I see some new people coming in. Shout out to you. GKP, I see you coming in. Good to see you, man. A lot of other comments coming in as well. Let me go back and read some of these. There's quite a few coming in while I was talking there. Also, the phone number, thank you, is 706-250-6252. Any of y'all want to take a minute and talk to me verbally? The phone line is open as well. Give me your thoughts. We started off talking about Penny Hardaway firing all his assistant coaches Not all of them, but a lot of them. Seeming like he's upheaving the staff again. Is it worrisome that Penny is changing his staff so much? Also, we're sitting there talking about Mike Norvell. Should he be on the hot seat? Is it burning up? Should it be burning up? Or should they show grace because they went undefeated last season? My thing is, I would understand if you say show grace, that maybe there's a grace period because of what they did last year, but at the same time, you all know good and well that at these big time schools, they have no patience. And if you end up having a terrible season, I think it depends on what happens. How bad is this season going to be for Mike Norvell? If you end up only winning 1 or 2 games, they're going to get rid of you. Period. You can't be that bad. They hired you because they wanted to get away from being that bad. Because all the faults with Florida State right now are coaching faults. So let's see. But again, let me read some of these comments. Quite a bit came in. Let's see. Verdell, he says it sucks that FSU, Florida State, is going to be slaw. Now that game is a must-win versus a desperate team. That's exactly what I was saying, Verdell. That's exactly what I'm saying. And that makes it dangerous. It really does. Leon says, go Tigers. Also, he says Tigers football 30 and 28th in both polls. That's true. And what Leon's talking about, the Memphis Tigers are ranked 30th and 28th in the nation right now. So if you get another big win, you're probably going to be in the top 25. And if you beat Florida State, no matter how down they might be, that's going to go a long way in your ranking. And your ranking is important when you're trying to build a resume to be in the 12-team playoff coming up this season. So I'm glad you brought that up, Leon. Stanley Fencer says that's if you can get ESPN. Yeah, I heard about. I'm glad you brought that up too. I don't know if y'all heard. A lot of y'all probably have, especially if you have DirecTV. But there's a huge dispute going on between Disney and DirecTV as far as broadcasting Disney networks. Now, when you talk about Disney, it's not just talking about Disney, the channel the kids watch. Disney is also ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN News, ESPN, the SEC network, all those channels where all the games are on. And Disney has pulled all their channels off of DirecTV. So that means no ABC, no local or national programming for ABC, any of the ESPN channels, any of the Disney channels. That is disastrous. Can you imagine you have DirecTV, this season's about to start, and ESPN is gone? Now, I'm sure they're going to work it out. But I've seen some people out here struggling because they can't watch the game. So hopefully, if you got DirecTV, they get it fixed before the Florida State-Memphis game in 2 weeks. Or else you're out of luck. So that's tough. Stanley also says, now Deion is laughing. Deion Sanders. The ironic thing is, Deion, they basically picked, Florida State picked Mike Norvell over Deion Sanders to be their head coach. Now, Deion Sanders played for Florida State. Deion Sanders is one of the greatest players in Florida State history. He played for Bobby Bowden. So he has a very connected history to that school. And he was, I remember he was disappointed that he, wasn't chosen at the time. That's before he went to Colorado, I believe. Greg says, I believe he will be fired if he loses to Memphis. Okay. People think you're crazy for saying that, Greg, but I don't. Kelly Reddick says, Florida State seems like they still have not gotten over being left out of the playoff last year. They have lost 3 straight games dating back to last season. That's true. That was the game I was talking about. Georgia. You remember? Look, see, this is the difference. Let me tell you how the difference. Georgia lost out on going to the national title game because they lost to Alabama in the SEC title game. Georgia went undefeated all year. lost to Alabama in the SEC title game, and they didn't make the Final Four. What did Georgia do? Georgia went to the bowl game and stomped all over Florida State to prove a point that they deserve to be in the Final Four. What did Florida State do? They were in the same situation. Florida State lost. Well, they didn't. Actually, Florida State didn't even lose. They just weren't picked for the Final Four. They were upset as well. What did Florida State do? They quit. They didn't try to win against Georgia, and they probably still would have got stomped by Georgia even if they tried. But I believe they gave up. And now going into this season, they set a bad precedent by whining and complaining about not making the playoffs instead of just playing. Now they're still in that attitude and getting whooped. That's not good, and that's on the coach. Even Mike Norvell, man, I know you lost the first 2 games, and I know it's bad. But if y'all saw the way he looked in that press conference after the game, he looked pathetic. That ain't going to encourage me. Not the way he was looking after the game, like he's about to cry. Now, I know people are like, well, he took accountability, Josh. I ain't studying that, man. He says it's my fault. I got to do better. Well, guess who else says it's your fault? The administration at Florida State. They said, you doggone right it's your fault, and you better win. It's tough out here. It may sound cutthroat, but that's kind of how it is. When you take a job like that, I'm not going to sit here and feel sorry for you because you're getting what comes with the job. And it's people in Memphis media that still feel sorry for Norvell because they love him and they're friends with him. I don't care about none of that. Norvell did a really good job at Memphis, but you left. You went to Florida State, and this is what comes with going to a program like that, period. Now, the only thing that might save Norvell, to be realistic, is how much money they're paying him. Because if they do fire him, they're going to have to pay him all that money. And they just gave him a raise. So I don't know. I don't know. Let me read some more of these comments. Shout out to y'all coming in. Verdell says, I think part of the reason Memphis didn't have a big rushing game, the team had a few short fields and Seth and the wideouts were getting their numbers. That's a good point. I know Sutton got hurt, by the way. That was a big loss for Memphis. Coach Silverfield talked like he might be out for a while. Yeah, Greg, Sutton Smith, big playmaker, running back, is already injured. Might be out for the year. What's good, fam? My guy, my cousin in the building. He said, what's good, fam? Just showing love. Florida better get it together ASAP. I'm not a fan of theirs, but it didn't look good for real, for real. Yes. You know what's funny, man? Like, Florida and Florida State, 2 of the biggest programs in Florida for years, right? They both stink right now. You got Billy Napier, who's the head coach of Florida. He might not make it after the next week or so. They're going to fire the mess out of him. You get stomped by Miami in the swamp in Gainesville. 41-17 to the Miami Hurricanes, who hadn't been nothing in a long time. But I'm going to tell you this. Y'all may not know this, but I think the Hurricanes might be back. That's one of the biggest wins they've had in a long time. They're ranked 17th in the nation. They're probably going to move up a little bit. The legendary Miami Hurricanes, who have been really struggling for almost 20 years. They used to be one of the institutions of college football, along with Florida State and Florida. But right now, they're the best team in Florida. They really are. And to Greg's comment here, Sutton Smith injured already. Yeah. I didn't see how long the injury was going to be, but I did see Silverfield said it's not looking good. So whenever a coach says it's not looking good, that's not good. So definitely praying for him. Sutton Smith seemed like it was a serious injury with his knee. So I'm definitely praying for a speedy recovery for him. Let's see who else. Kelly says he's a bunch of angry faces, DirecTV. I'm sick of them. It's always something. Kelly is sick of DirecTV. I'm laughing with you, man, not at you. I understand. You know, it's been a long time since I had DirecTV. You know, see, and I know the way they do satellite now. It's not like they don't even have the dishes anymore. They do like internet or whatever. But still, can you imagine? You ain't got no Disney channels. You ain't got no ESPN channels. You can't watch nothing sports related except if it's on CBS. And CBS doesn't even carry the SEC anymore. ESPN started their new deal with them. So you're missing all the good games. Leon says, in Deion's case, too, at Colorado, they're on his case. Yeah, they are. But at least Deion won. He won his first game against North Dakota State. It was a very close game. I don't know what that says. North Dakota State, you barely beat them. Colorado looks just like they did last year, except the offensive line looks a little bit better, but they can't run the ball for nothing. But I'll give Colorado this. North Dakota State is one of the best Division II programs ever. They have 9 national titles in Division II. So they're like the Alabama of Division II. So I'm not surprised the game was close because they don't fear any Division I team like some of the other Division II schools. North Dakota State could probably be in Division I if they wanted to when you dominate like that. So I'll give Deion a little grace when it comes to that. Leon said they say it's a season-ending injury for Sutton Smith. Yeah, that's what I was worried about. That is quite the loss for the Tigers running game. Verdell says Florida State and Clemson better stay in their lane in the ACC. Is more of their speed. They ain't ready for the Big Ten or SEC life. I agree. And here's another thing. Florida State and Norvell last year, not only were they complaining that they weren't in a national title game, they also were trying to leave the ACC. There's a lot of rumors about Florida State trying to join the SEC or the Big Ten. I'm telling you right now, Norvell, you don't want those problems coming to the SEC. You think you want that? You don't want that. You don't want that. Look at the SEC now. Texas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Georgia, Auburn, Alabama, Ole Miss, who looks like they might be one of the best in the SEC. Vanderbilt, who had a big win this weekend, they beat Virginia Tech. Kentucky's on the rise. Who's that? LSU. Forget about these are all-time great programs. I'm forgetting about because there's so many great teams. And Florida State trying to no. At least not when Mike Norvell is the coach. You don't want those problems. Stay where you at and get yourself together. What else we got? A lot of comments coming in. Shout out to you. Leon Mapstone says, I see the game on the Tiger app. What app is that? They got a Tigers app where you can watch the game? I didn't know that. Yeah, send me a message or something about that, Leon. I like that. Kelly Reddick says that Florida and Florida State game going to end up being on Tubi. Tubi's where they put all the cheap movies. Y'all don't know. That's terrible. Vicky says Deion Sanders starting out on a good foot. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter are great players. I hope they stay healthy this season. I agree. Now, let me throw this at y'all. Not making this a Deion show like I did last week, but I gotta say this because I had a conversation with some friends about this. So, think about it. He's at Colorado. Deion sees the struggle it is to try to turn that terrible program around. Right? He's in a tough conference now. And his son, Shedeur, is a great quarterback. Shedeur Sanders, one of the best quarterbacks in college football. He's going to be gone after this year. He's going to the NFL. Who's the second best player on Colorado's team? Travis Hunter. Really, he's probably the best player. He plays defense and offense. He's a dominant wide receiver and a dominant defensive back. I've never seen that before. He plays every snap in Division I football. This ain't high school. He's playing every snap at a high level. That is unbelievable. I don't think you could do that in the NFL, though, but not successfully. But my point being, those are the two players that are carrying Colorado right now since Deion got there. His two guys he considers his sons. One that is his blood son, the other he considers his son. They're both going to be gone. And that's going to leave the size of Colorado when they're gone. And to me, if I'm Deion, I'm getting out of there. You need to go somewhere else, man. Because you think it's tough now. Your son gone and Travis Hunter gone? I heard they recruited a good quarterback or whatever, but I don't know. If I'm him and if I'm Florida State, I take a gamble. Depending on how bad Norvell goes, you get rid of him. You try to set up a package for Deion to come home to Florida State. And that's a much better situation, in my opinion, for Deion than Boulder, Colorado. That's just my thoughts. Man, y'all are coming in heavy on the comments. I appreciate it. Let's see. Greg says Norvell doesn't coach defensively enough to compete in the SEC. Yeah, you saw that at Memphis. He didn't care about defense at Memphis. Memphis scored a ton of points. They could outscore anybody, but they had to because the defense was so bad. Vicky says, I like watching the playoffs. Whom it matters. LOL. Okay. Greg says the Florida State game is not going to be on Tubi. Maybe it's going to be on PBS Kids. Coming on right after Sesame Street, right? Bradell says Tubi is better than the Bally's app. Yeah, I heard the Grizzlies are still on Bally Sports, by the way. That's tough. They're pretty terrible. Leon Mapstone, go to the U of M website, download it, and you put in the game you want to watch, and it will be shown. Okay. Yeah, Stanley Francis says, send me a link to that app. Me too. Me too, Leon. But thank you for the instructions. I'm going to see what I can do. Or try to send me something, too, if you can, Leon. I do want to check that out. It's on the U of M website, says Leon. Okay. Thank you. Also, he says, when I find it, I'll send it to you all. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Vicky says, I hope he goes to the Cowboys. They need some help. Who, Shador? Deion's son? You want him to go to the Cowboys? The Cowboys going to have to be real bad because Shador's going to go top 10. I wouldn't put it past Jerry Jones to lose on purpose to get Deion's son. I know they have a great relationship. Riddell said Travis Hunter is an android. Yeah, basically. He's doesn't even seem real. Not human. I know what you mean, Riddell. I know what you mean. Oh, man. GKP says, don't do that, Vicky. Not sure y'all got a side conversation going on in the comments. Jet says, I think Norvell and Kiffin will end up swapping jobs. If Norvell can last a year and is prime, and if Prime can pull off a big-time season, 9 or 10 wins for Colorado, then he might get lucky. Hold on. You think Lane Kiffin will go to Florida State and Norvell go to Ole Miss? If I'm Kiffin, I'm not leaving. Ole Miss really is kind of the perfect fit for Kiffin. Now, I know Lane Kiffin will leave in a heartbeat if he sees more money and a more better opportunity. But to me, it's the perfect fit for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. And they got a really good team this year. So I don't know if I'm just up and leave if I'm Lane. Norvell would probably like the Ole Miss job better to some degree, but you're in the SEC now. I don't know about that. I don't know. But what I do know is I appreciate y'all tuning in. I'm going to take a quick break. Then I'm going to come back and end it. So I appreciate y'all. Y'all stay tuned. And I'm going to take this quick message from our sponsor. Y'all stay tuned.
But before we go, I got to tout the best seasonings. Pastor, look, this guy's a friend of mine. His name is Bob Midget, and he owns a company called BJ's Barbecue and Sauces. You can reach him at bjsbarbecueandsauces.com. And I know you can cook now. You know Bob. Of course,
Oh, yeah,
you
I
know
know.
Bob.
Yeah, I know.
You know Bob's living in Georgia now, and
Oh,
he's opened up a company. Man, I've tried his dry rub. I've tried his barbecue sauce. It is off the hook.
well, I remember when he's out there in
Exactly.
Raleigh.
Bob's Country
Yeah,
Barbecue.
yeah.
Well, now he's showing you why his barbecue was so good because of the sauces and the dry rubs that he have on it. I use it every day.
Okay.
I put his dry rub on my eggs.
Mm.
That's how good it is.
Oh, that must be really good.
You
then.
remember Campbell Soup? Remember the commercial?
Mhm,
It
mhm,
was
good.
good.
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible. I need you to go to bjbarbecueandsauces.com and order a box set of everything. He has hot sauce, he has barbecue sauce, he has dry rub. I'm telling you, he has mild sauce, he has hot sauce. All of it is delectable. It is bellissimo.
Mm.
And I want you to go to bjbarbecueandsauces.com. Again, bjbarbecueandsauces.com and at least order that barbecue and that dry rub. I'm telling you, you will throw all the rest of your seasonings away because it covers it all. I'm telling you the truth. bjbarbecueandsauces.com. Go to it right now, order it, and get the best seasonings that you've ever tasted in your life. Because I tell you, it's good.
All right.
All right, we're back, man. I'm about to close it out. Appreciate everybody for tuning in, watching, listening, wherever you may be. However, you may be checking me out on today, and I will be back next week. I'm gonna read this last comment here. Jet says, yeah, but Ole Miss can't win a national title, not in the SEC. It's a good point. It's a good point. I say that's a maybe. They had to win some crazy games. But that's everybody in the SEC. So who knows, man? But nonetheless, so much to talk about. Penny Hardaway, again, if you didn't see the breaking news, is upheaval in the coaching staff. And there's some changes that are made. Let me put it back on the screen for y'all real quick. And that was Jermaine Johnson, Faraji Phillips, and Jamie Rosser, as well as a couple of other coaches on the staff, have been let go and will no longer be on the staff. So this is causing a whole lot of talk and conversation in Memphis. Evidently, Jermaine Johnson has so affected by the rumor that's come out that he is going to be on the radio in Memphis tomorrow. So I'm going to be very interested to see what exactly he's going to talk about. Is he going to dog out Penny? He's going to say everything he's wanted to say? Or is it just going to be a bunch of nothing? Might be the latter, but we'll see, man. And whatever happens, we'll talk about it whenever. Just stay tuned right here on my channel, Josh C. Midget. Whenever I go live, Josh Talk Sports. And I'll be back next week. Stay tuned for Talk Back Live with Bob and Josh at some point, or any of our shows at any point. Just follow our social media. Follow us on Facebook, Talk Back Live with Bob and Josh. Follow us on Twitter at Talk Back Live. Follow us on YouTube, Talk Back Live Network on YouTube as well. Follow my page as well. So y'all check it out as well. I'll put out the show afterwards, Stanley, what show they're going to be on. And no free promos over here. They didn't do that, when it comes to us. So, all right, man. But I appreciate it, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Be sure to continue to hit like on this video if you haven't already. Share the video to your friends to see the conversation as well. I'll see y'all later. Be blessed.
But before we go, I got to tout the best seasonings. Pastor, look, this guy's a friend of mine. His name is Bob Midget, and he owns a company called BJ's Barbecue and Sauces. You can reach him at bjsbarbecueandsauces.com. And I know you can cook now. You know Bob. Of course,
Oh,
you
yeah, I
know
know.
Bob.
Yeah, I
You know,
know.
Bob's living in Georgia now, and
Oh,
he's opened up a company. Man, I've tried his dry rub. I've tried his barbecue sauce. It is off the hook.
well, I remember when he's out there in
Exactly.
Raleigh.
Bob's Country
Yeah,
Barbecue.
yeah.
Well, now he's showing you why his barbecue was so good because of the sauces and the dry rubs that he have on it. I use it every day.
Okay.
I put his dry rub on my eggs.
Mm.
That's how good it is.
Oh, that must be really good.
You
then.
remember Campbell's soup? Remember
Yeah.
the commercial?
Mhm,
It
good.
was good.
Yeah.
It is absolutely incredible. I need you to go to bjbarbecueandsauces.com and order a box set of everything. He has hot sauce, he has barbecue sauce, he has dry rub. I'm telling you, he has mild sauce, he has hot sauce. All of it is delectable. It is bellissimo.
Mm.
And I want you to go to bjbarbecueandsauces.com. Again, bjbarbecueandsauces.com and at least order that barbecue and that dry rub. I'm telling you, you will throw all the rest of your seasonings away because it covers it all. I'm telling you the truth. bjbarbecueandsauces.com. Go to it right now, order it, and get the best seasonings that you've ever tasted in your life. Because I tell you, it's good.